working? I have no idea. Oh, hi Savannah. I'm just working out the ins and outs. I'm not very technologically minded. I do apologise. I thought I'd be very very high tech and do OBS, which I'm still trying to figure out. I might oh, that's good. At least people can hear me and see me. That's good. Why is this not working? Oh, I had it all set up as well. Okay, I might have to come back, go in and go out of this, because back in hopefully a very short amount of time. The book is ready here. You can see it's quite a meaty book, so I'm just going to try and figure out the technological side of things before I actually officially start. So stay put. I will be back as soon as I can. Right, bye. I think I've sussed it, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just doing a bit of recon, bear with me. I do apologise. This isn't going as well as I'd like. I'm going to wait and see if it just goes ahead first before officially starting. Really, I'm sorry about this. Technology, eh? Technology. I think I figured it out. I really do apologise. You can tell I haven't done a live stream ever. Someone can hear me. Comment. Or just let me know. Seems to be working okay. If it is working, I'm going to give it another few seconds. In the meantime, you can get yourself a cup of tea, go back to bed because that's going to be more entertaining than what's going on here right now. And once this is ready, up and go, up and I do have some friends watching, so I'm running it by them to see if it works. I'm gonna say Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and if that works, hopefully we've got the right link. And if not, we're gonna start again. Oh, I thought this would run smoothly. Why is this not working? Bear with. finally, we got there in the end. Yeah, technology, I'm quite technologically sound, but that was just a little bit different. Anyway, good morning everybody. Thank you for joining me in what is going to be a very strange journey. I don't know how many people are aware of this. Last Friday, Andy Serkis did a charity reading for of The Hobbit for charity, obviously, for NHS charities. I think he raised about he raised a lot of money. I think it was around about £280,000 plus, which is great. After watching that, this was about a 12-hour event, by the way, which is really, really good of him. After watching that, I thought, it'd be a good idea if I could do something similar like that. So I thought, I wish I could have read The Hobbit, but there were two reasons why I couldn't. First of all, the Tolkien estate is quite picky when it comes to choosing people to do readings, so I thought I don't want to incur their wrath. I'll do something slightly different. And two, Andy Serkis already did a great job. I don't want to rain on his parade. I mean, obviously that'd be much better, but So after much deliberation, I decided to go with this. It's a parody novel of The Hobbit called The Soddit, written by A.R.R. Roberts, also known as Professor Adam Roberts, who I have to thank, first of all, for letting me actually do this as part of raising money for charity, so thank you very much, Professor. I'll do my best. I haven't done any rehearsals, I haven't read through it in a while, so this could be really horrible. I'm going to set a timer on my phone to see how long oh yeah, look, Tolkien-inspired phone. I'm going to set a timer just to see how long it will actually take me from start to finish. We should have started at 9:30, so I do apologise for all that again. So if you just bear with me 1 second, I'm going to set a timer, stopwatch, we will go, that's off. I'm going to have one last swig of tea and a swig of water. And if you want to donate, the link should be down below in the description box, or going through via FundMe. The goal so far is £200. If we could get past that, if we get 205 would be great, but £200 the limit, because I know money is quite difficult for a lot of people at the moment, considering what's going on. So donate as much or as little as you can. I'd be happy if you just tuned in for 5 minutes or just donated £1. I'd be very happy. Spread this with your friends. Spread it on your Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. I'd be really happy. Obviously we'll be taking breaks in between as well, so there'll be plenty of time to share and just talk about how stupid this whole thing is, and tell your friends, like, have you seen this woman on YouTube doing a full read through of the Soddit? It's ridiculous. So I'll have a swig of water. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. The Soddit by A.R.R. Roberts. Not the first few minutes of prologue in a major 9-hour motion picture epic. For the full title, it's called The Cash In Again, or There and Back Again. Damn it, where did I put it? Where is it? I don't believe it. I must have left it there, over there, to there. Oh, for heaven's sake, it's not here either. Back yet again. Fuming. Oh, there it is. It was by the front door all along. By A.R.R. Roberts. It's a lovely map just to take in, get your bearings. That's enough. Okay, we'll carry on. Chapter 1. The Unexpected Part. In a hole, in a highly desirable and sought-after portion of the ground, the hole 2 doors along went for 300 thou last year, near enough, although admittedly it was double-fronted and had a newly turfed roof, lived a Soddit, the hero of our story. His name was Bingo Sack Grabbings. Not a name he chose for himself, of course, but one decided on by his mother. Easy for her to say, of course. She didn't have to live with it all through school and adult life. Parents, eh? Where was I? Oh yes, lived Bingo. It was a fair to middling Soddit hole, with a circular blue painted door, fine blue tiles in the bathroom with a cheesy blue mould growing on them, blue beetles, silverfish, air of moistness, and a kitchen area from which it was next to impossible to clear out cooking smells. Nevertheless, in Soddit terms, it was a reasonably desirable residence. Bingo's aunt, the severe Vita Sack Vilevest, had designs upon this very sod hole, although Bingo was in no mood to give way to pressure from that branch of the family. He was a Soddit of 40, which in Soddit years was next to nothing, a mere bagatelle, less than a bagatelle in fact, well, technically about 4/5 of a bagatelle, but still young, that's my point. Soddits are a race of little people who live in the earth, which is where their name comes from. You'll learn a lot about names and where they come from if you pay attention as you read, believe me. Scholars and philologists have established the derivation of the name, evidenced by an ancient rhyme. Cleave the sod with your trusty spade, dig out a house that's quite like a grave, and should your neighbour not return with your trusty spade. Now it is an interesting thing that Soddits don't tend to call themselves Soddits, for reasons I'll come to in a minute. But Soddit is the generally accepted term. Once upon a time, a traveller from the country of the bigger people roamed far and wide through the country of the littler folk, through the county of the Hunchkins, Shrimpville, Little Puttia, the land of the leprechauns, a brave little and contagious foot diseases. Foot diseases are, it must be said, something of a common theme for the counties of the little. Jockeyton, and into Hobbledehoy, the hometown of Bingo, the hero of our tale. On his return to the human town of Bree, like the cheese, this big un traveller found his way to a tavern on his adventures, and his fellow big uns gathered around him, curious as to what he had seen. "What did you discover?" they pressed him. "Who did you encounter?" "I met a—" He started to reply, and drew a great shuddering sigh into his body before concluding, in a lowered tone, "Soddit," and reaching for the tankard of his ale. The name of the particular Soddit he encountered had not been recorded, but it was clearly a meeting that had a profound impact on the big man, for he stayed inside the Dragon Queen Inn at Bree for 2 days and 2 nights, drinking all the time and speaking to nobody, and soon afterwards left the area, never to return. Soddits built the accommodation portion of their houses under the ground, and they build their coal cellars, wine rooms, and sometimes large rooms with ping-pong tables in them above the ground. They insist that this is the most logical manner of arranging living space, and indeed, Hobbledehoy planning regulations have made any other form of domestic building illegal, although this does tend to result in living quarters prone to damp, to worms, to mould, to associated asthma and bronchitis for the inhabitants, whilst coal, wine, and ping-pong bats are the most burgled items in this burglary-prone town. But a tradition, after all, is a tradition. Soddits, as I say, don't call themselves Soddits. In their own tongue, which is queer and old and full of syntactical grammatical inconsistencies, they call themselves Hobbles. Now, there is a reason why they refer to themselves in this manner, and not by the name of Soddit like everyone else in the world, and the reason is found in their feet. Shocking feet they have, just shocking. Whatever the reason, and Soddits down the ages have blamed the gods, or an ancient wizard's curse, or inadequate orthopaedic practice, or congenital disease, or a dozen other factors. Whatever the reason, Soddits are almost all of them afflicted with appalling arthritis of the feet. Their feet are swollen and gnarled, maybe 3 or 4 times their normal size, with toes like coconuts and ankles like condoms stuffed with pebbles. This arthritis is extremely painful and is indeed no laughing matter. Although queerly, it is a condition that does not spread to any other part of their body. But it gives their feet a strangely deadened, different colour from the rest of their bodies. Moreover, it makes it impossible for the adult Soddit to wear shoes, for the pressure of leather against the inflated flesh of the feet is too ghastly. This means that the diminutive folk walk only with difficulty and excessive slowness, and accordingly adult Soddits spend much of their time searching for the cushion of the perfect softness, making little grunts as they collapse into their sofas and using their hands physically to lift their feet onto their foot. And now you know everything that you need to know about Soddits, or hobbles, excepting only one or two minor details, such as the fact that they are food-loving and drink-loving and enjoy conviviality, and that they like to wear waistcoats and corduroy. Oh yes, and they smoke pipeweed a great deal, and accordingly they die younger than they otherwise would and throat, as well as of heart disease. What else? That they are conservative, rural, bourgeois, middle class. And that they speak with a slight Birmingham accent, oddly. And also, that despite their manifest disadvantages, their diminutive stature, their crippled elephantiasis feet, small-mindedness, their disinclination to listen to strangers or change old ways, their addiction to tobacco and alcohol, their stagnant class-ridden respectability. Despite all this, they have developed the most modern semi-industrial culture in the whole world, with watermills, steam foundries, comfortable housing, pipes, popgun spectacles, velvet clothes, charming little Flintstone churches, books and fireworks, while the rest of upper Middle Earth is languishing in the dark ages of swords, horses, and burying their dead under enormous mounds of earth. Funny that, but you see, the ways of the world are strange and sometimes inexplicable. Bingo was sitting on his most comfortable sofa one morning, with his poor, swollen, arthritic feet resting on a green velvet cushion on the footstool in front of him. He was staring at the knuckled toes, the individual toes beneath the body of the foot, and these joints were staring back at him, like 10 radishes. He was feeling the full weight of the misery of existence, poor old Bingo. There was a series of bangs at the door, loud and startling, the sort of noise that might be made by a naughty Soddit child stuffing a firecracker in the keyhole, lighting it, running, hearing the disappointingly soggy pop, coming back vexed and kicking the door off its hinges with his as yet unspoiled bother-butted feet. Young people today, eh? What can you do? Bingo sighed. "Go away," he called. I apologise in advance to all the Birmingham residents. I can't do a Birmingham accent. "Go away," he called. After a pause, he added, "Go away." The banging continued on the front door. There was nothing for it. Bingo got slowly to his feet and made his way to the door, flinching with each step and uttering all his usual expressions of pain, including "ah," "ouch," and half under his breath, "ow, ow, 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 ow." Which is to say, the noises somebody makes not when they are in communicate to the world at large that they are experiencing a sensation of slight discomfort. Nobody suffering actual pain, let's say a broken leg, or having their shoulder pierced all the way through with a warg rider's arrow, would ever say, "ouch." If somebody in this situation were to say "ouch," we would think not that they were in pain, but they were taking the piss. Bingo did not like having a round front door. Who would? Geometry dictates that such a door be held in place by only one hinge, and that this hinge cannot be placed in the most effective load-bearing position, so that the doorway is drafty and the door unwieldy to open, and able easily to be kicked completely in by any Soddit still young enough to be wearing boots. But tradition is tradition is tradition, and this was a tradition which hobbled ahoy planning regulators enforced with particular zeal. Bingo pulled open his front door. Outside, standing in the sunshine, was a wizard. Bingo had never seen a wizard before, but the W on the front of his poncho could only mean that he was one of the magic brotherhood. Either that, or he was a munchkin of unusually developed stature and had put his poncho on upside down. The knocking noise was continuing. Bingo looked up at the wizard. "Yes, well," said the wizard in a booming voice, "I'm sorry about that." Sorry, Bingo repeated, uncomprehending. He looked at his still knocking door. The knocking spell I put on your door. It's a common enough wizardly spell, you know, he bellowed, as if talking in the gale. I'm too fragile at my time of life to go banging at doors. Banging at doors! I'm too old and fragile for that. So I've put a knocking spell on, do you see? Bingo looked at the door. Can you turn it off, please? He seemed not to hear. Thank you, he said, in his stentorian voice. But really, you're too kind. It's a small spell, but potent. Potent! How long does it last? Yes, boomed the wizard indulgently. But can I turn it off? That's the question. And the answer is, can I, buggery? Hard to do, you see. Easy to turn it on, that spell, but fiercely difficult to turn it off. How long does the spell last? Said Bingo, leaving a space. Oh. How long does the spell last? Said Bingo, leaving a space between each word and moving manner as he spoke. Grabbings! Shrieked the wizard, his shaggy eyebrows rising and his eyes staring intently. Grabbings! He stepped forward, filling the doorway, bent down, and stepped into the hallway of Grab End. Bingo spun around as the huge figure of the wizard, bent nearly double, moved rapidly along the hall and into the main sitting room, shouting Bingo's surname at the top of his voice. All the while the front door carried on making its deafening racket, like a heavy item of wooden furniture clattering down an endless flight of stairs. Bilbo stumbled after the wizard, calling out, "Hey!" and "Ow, my feet!" and came through the sitting room to find the old wizard parked there in Bingo's own sofa, which, though large for a Soddit, was chair-sized for the man, beaming toothlessly at him. "So you are Grabbings, are you?" he shouted. Yes, I am," replied Bingo. "But look, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you. I'm sorry, to leave. You can't come in, you can't sit there." "It is Grabbings over the door, you see," said the wizard. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," said Bingo in a louder voice. "Grabbings," said the wizard, putting his finger to his cheek to mime contemplation. "A burglar's name, is that?" "I'm a gentle hobbald of independent means," said Bingo, arrowed up his leg from his left foot, "and I'm asking you to go now." "I thought so," said the wizard, smiling knowingly. "I thought so." "Leave, please," screeched Bingo. "Too kind," said the wizard, taking off his hat and placing it on his lap. "Two sugars for me. My name is Gandalf, and I am a wizard, yes, indeed, the famous Gandalf. Don't be scared, I promise," he said, chuckling to himself. I promise. Although I am a wizard, I promise not to turn you." He went on. I'm going to have to have a quick sip of this. You'll see why in a second. He went on, his chuckling bubbling up until his shoulders and his whole head was shaking with the hilarity of what he was doing. "Not to turn you into a he added, coughing so abruptly, so prodigiously and body-spasmingly that it looked for a moment as if he were going to shake himself out of his seat and onto the floor. He coughed. Bingo, alarmed, sat down in the second best chair. The wizard continued. "Are you all..." Bingo started to say. The wizard concluded and let his head flop backwards. His colour had drained away, and little dregs of spittle were visible on the grey of his beard just below his mouth. "Blimey," he said in a strangulated voice. Oh dear. His right hand fumbled in the pocket of his gown and brought out a pipe. His left hand brought out a wallet of pokeweed, and with trembling fingers he filled the bowl. "I'll be better in a moment," he croaked. muttering a small spell to bring a yellow flame from the right thumbnail so he could light his pipe. For long minutes, the wizard simply sucked noisily at the stem of his pipe, making orgasmic little moans between each breath, and swiftly filling Bingo's front room with a smoke so acrid and dark it made the little Soddit's eyes smart. "Oh, that's better," Gandalf murmured, sucking in another lungful of heated tobacco particles and air. "So much better." "Are you all right, Bingo asked a little nervously. "Huh?" Gandalf shouted. "What? You'll have to speak up, the hearing's not what it used to be." Away in the hall, behind him, Bingo could hear the door still knocking away to itself. He started to say, but realised he didn't know how to finish a sentence. "Oh, once upon a time," said Gandalf, "my hearing was better than an eagle, and my eyesight better than a goodly-eyed animal. I don't know. Something with a very good and acute sense of sight. An eagle, yes. But age takes its toll, you know." The wizard hawked. So enormous a noise of retching phlegm emanated from his chest that Bingo shrank back. "I tried a most potent noise amplification spell once upon a time," Gandalf was saying, his voice meditative, though still loud. "Marvellous spell. I could hear the birds speaking to one another in trees over the horizon. I could hear the rustlings as the clouds rubbed against one another in the sky. I could hear the sound a rainbow makes as it arches its back over the world. Then a dog barked behind me and burst my left eardrum. Won't try that again in a hurry. I actually wet myself. Imagine a wizard wetting himself in terror. Wouldn't do for that piece of news to get around. The forces of evil and all that. Important to keep appearances of, magic and potency. I'm not actually a man, you see. I'm a sort of angel." This is true, actually. The best theological thinking today suggests that when you die and go up to heaven, you'll find God surrounded not by people in white with wings, but instead a large crowd of crotchety, beardy men in big hats with nicotine-stained fingers and swords. As the philosopher once said, the world is not only stranger than we imagine, but stranger than we can imagine, and more imaginative than we can imagine too, which is something of a contradiction, don't you think? Where was I? Hold on, bear with me for a minute, angels. Old men. Stranger than we imagine, stranger than we can imagine, stranger than we will imagine, stranger than we shall imagine, stranger than we shouldn't imagine, stranger than we wouldn't imagine if we could, stranger than you can imagine but not me, and so on. Anyway, I think we can both agree I've made my point. He chuckled to himself. "Covers a multitude of sins, that. Sharp's the word." "I don't quite follow," said Bingo. "They'll be here in a moment, our friends from the dwarf land. They're the salt of the earth, which is to say, they've dug up and sold the salt of the earth, and also that they've ploughed salt into the earth of people they didn't like. But we'll stay on their good side. Oh yes, we'll draw up a contract. I'll get the map out, and we can head off tomorrow. Be on our way." He cleared his throat, or to put it more precisely, he moved half a stone of snot from one internal location to the other, and then drew a deep breath through his pipe. "Come again?" said Bingo. But Gandalf had fallen asleep, his head lolling, his still-lit pipe rolling from his fingers and tipping smouldering tobacco over the matting that served for a carpet in Bingo's Soddit hole. Drink break. Why did I choose Mr. Bean for Gandalf? The first 4 dwarfs, this by the way is the correct plural form of dwarf, look it up if you don't believe me, really, arrived half an hour later, hammering on the door so violently that it jolted off its latch and collapsed inwards. "My door!" squealed Bingo, scurrying as fast as his deformed feet could take him into the hallway. "Apologies," said the first dwarf, treading on the wreck of the door as he stepped inside. We were knocking for a while, you look you. But seeing how the door was knocking away by itself, I don't think we were being heard. I got a mate who does doors. Does doors, lovely dwarf. Oh, he'll do you a lovely door, said the first dwarf, with a flush of agreement. Lovely, big, hefty door. As soon as he pops along, he'll quote you, lovely boy, Blabach. I apologise for the Welsh people who may be watching this as well. I can't do a Welsh accent. There's been a misunderstanding, Bingo gabbled at them. I'm sorry that you've been inconvenienced, but you got the wrong hole. Nobody here called Grabbins. No wizard. There's no wizard here. You'll have to go away. Popping noises, such as can only be produced by a man who has scoured the walls of his lungs red and smooth over many years of dedicated smoke inhalation, said the first dwarf, stepping past Bingo. Feeling, he said. I'm a dwarf, la boy. See how back do, he added. This is my cousin, dwarf bowed. And behind him are Siddy and Frilly, also cousins, see? I haven't the victuals, Bingo began in desperation, but the four dwarfs were already in the sitting room, singing tunelessly but loudly, one of them bouncing lustily on the wizard's chest to wake the fellow up. Bingo turned about, cursed the gnawing, and turned again as four more dwarves... Oh, sorry, that one must have slipped with the proofs.